Hello, Durud and Shalom. How's my audio? Make sure you like the stream. Guys, I don't know if you guys saw this speech. This was something else. So, Pete Hegseth just came out and announced war against a wokeism in the army, in the US Army. And the speech was on a completely different level. So if you guys haven't heard, by the way, how's my audio? Who's here? Let me see in the chat. If you guys haven't seen this, they basically just gathered all the top generals of the United States in one area, which is kind of risky, too, if you ask me. And people were wondering what the hell's going on. This is like a history. This has never happened before in the history of the United States. And people were asking, why are they doing this? And apparently, it was for this. So let's watch this and figure out what the hell was all of this about. And whether we support it, we don't support it, we support some of it, we're against some of it. Let's try not to be binary, and see which parts of it we like and which parts of it we don't like. I'm going to pay attention to the live chat so I get to see your opinions as well. So yeah, let's just get started. Let me know if you have the audio from this video as well. Hold on. Yeah, so far. Oh,
please take your seats.
How's the audio from this video?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the Joint Chiefs, generals, admirals, commanders, officers, senior enlisted, NCOs, enlisted, and every member of our American military. Good morning.
It's better now, right?
Good morning and welcome to the War Department. Because the era of the Department of Defense is over. You see,
wait, how does that work with the Trump's trying to be? I gotta know. Like, Trump is anti-war for peace. Is that they renamed the Department of Defense to the Department of War? Does that? I mean, I guess it goes in line with peace through strength. But it seems weird that if you're anti-war and for peace, then rebranding the Department of Defense to the Department of War. I mean, some people might think that that goes against it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just peace through strength.
And welcome to the War Department.
War Department.
Because the era of the Department of Defense
is over. Okay, so I didn't know, like, what's the point of this microphone here in front of him if he could just walk away so he's not speaking into that microphone?
Of the Department of Defense
is over.
Look. You see, the motto of my first platoon was those who long for peace must prepare for war. This is, of course, not a new idea. This crowd knows that. Right. The origin dates to the 4th century Rome and has been repeated ever since, including by our first commander-in-chief, George Washington, the first leader of the War Department. It captures a simple yet profound truth. To ensure peace, we must prepare for war.
Okay.
From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting, preparing for war and preparing to win, unrelenting and uncompromising in that pursuit. Not because we want war, no one here wants war, but it's because we love peace. We love peace for our fellow citizens. They deserve peace, and they rightfully expect us to deliver it. Our number one job, of course, is to be strong so that we can prevent war in the first place. The president talks about it all the time. It's called peace through strength.
All right, I get it.
And as history teaches us, the only people who actually deserve peace are those who are willing to wage war to defend it. That's why pacifism is so naive.
Guys, is he not using teleprompters? Because he speaks for 40 minutes without any teleprompters. That's actually pretty, I mean, love him or hate him, that's pretty impressive. He's using no teleprompters. And like, did he memorize all of this, or is he just like speaking organically?
To defend it. That's why pacifism is so naive and dangerous. It ignores human nature and it ignores human history. Either you protect your people and your sovereignty, or you will be.
Oh, so Jack in the live chat is saying, I hope by woke he doesn't mean banning gays or trans people from the military who fit the standards. Well, let's see what he means. We could judge based on what he says. That's a good question, Jack.
Subservient to something or someone. It's a truth as old as time.
I don't think
And
that's
since
what they mean.
waging war is so costly in blood and treasure, we owe our republic a military that will win any war we choose or any war that is thrust upon us. Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, FAFO.
Oh,
If
fuck around and
necessary.
so for people who are not American, that means fuck around and find out. That's just basically the demonstrating your deterrent capabilities. That's what it means. By the way, guys, Jack, when you say if you you hope that that's why woke doesn't mean banning gays or trans, that would not be anti-woke. That would be anti-liberal. So I hope he doesn't mean that. That would not be anti-woke. That would be woke. That would be right-leaning woke.
In other words, to our enemies, FAFO. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you. Another way to put it is peace through strength, brought to you by the warrior ethos. And we are restoring both. As President Trump has said, and he's right, we have the strongest, most powerful, most lethal, and most prepared military on the planet. That is true, full stop. Nobody can touch us. It's not even close. This is true largely because of the historic investments that he made in his first term, and we will continue in this term. But it's also true because of the leaders in this room and the incredible troops that you all.
By the way, you guys understand that the people are sitting in front of him? This is really dangerous to gather all of these people in one place because, correct me if I'm wrong, never in the history of the United States have all the top generals have been gathered in one place like this before. So if you attack this area, like basically this is really damaging. This is very risky for United States defense capabilities to just have them all in one place at the same time. I don't know. I can't like I mean honestly, I think the security must have been really high. Like I think the security for this meeting was probably the highest ever. Like I don't know what I hope at least.
True because of the leaders in this room and the incredible troops that you all lead. But the world, and as the chairman mentioned, our enemies get a vote. You feel it, I feel it. This is a moment of urgency, mounting urgency. Enemies gather, threats grow. There is no time for games. We must be prepared. If we're going to prevent and avoid war, we must prepare now. We are the strength part of peace through strength. And either we're ready to win or we are not.
Okay.
You see, this urgent moment, of course, requires more troops, more munitions, more drones, more Patriots, more submarines, more B-21 bombers. It requires more innovation, more AI in everything and ahead of the curve, more cyber effects, more counter UAS, more space, more speed. America is the strongest, but we need to get stronger and quickly. The time is now, and the cause is urgent.
Yes,
the moment requires restoring and refocusing our defense industrial base, our shipbuilding industry, and onshoring all critical components. It requires, as President Trump has done, getting our allies and partners to step up.
Including chip manufacturing, so you're not so reliant on Taiwan.
It requires, as President Trump has done, getting our allies and partners to step up and share the burden. America cannot do everything. The free world requires allies with real hard power, real military leadership, and real military capabilities.
True.
The War
Like
Department
Israel.
is tackling and prioritizing all of these things. And I'll be giving a speech next month that'll showcase the speed, innovation, and generational acquisition reforms we are undertaking urgently. Likewise, the nature of the threats we face in our hemisphere and in deterring China is another speech for another day.
Yes,
Coming
China. China.
This speech today, as I drink my
Today.
coffee, this speech,
Okay, guys, I don't know if you agree with him or not. This is pretty impressive that he's saying, doing all of this. I mean, he looks good. His suit looks good. His shoes looks good. He looks very fit, and he looks powerful, and he speaks with a lot of confidence, and he's just saying that all without a teleprompter. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Do you guys agree? Like
today, as I drink my coffee, this speech today is about people, and it's about culture. The topic today is about the nature of our.
so far, by the way, I don't know, when we get to the woke part, we'll see if we agree. I hope, like, I'm really in line with being anti-woke, as long as anti-woke doesn't mean anti-liberal. But we have to see. Sometimes right-leaning people, when they say anti-woke, they actually mean anti-liberal. So we have to be seeing, like, we have to judge what he says when we get there. But so far, I'm completely in agreement with him. You know, the best way, history has shown, the best way to get to long-lasting peace is by showing a lot of strength, and also by crushing your enemies whenever they want to disrupt peace, and being able to demonstrate to everyone else that you will basically annihilate anybody who wants to disrupt peace, and that you're capable. Anytime anyone wants to fuck around, you have to demonstrate to the whole world the lengths that you will go to make sure that they find out, right? And that's how you get long-lasting peace. So I agree with that.
About culture. The topic today is about the nature of ourselves.
Okay, culture. There we
Because
go.
no plan, no program, no reform, no formation will ultimately succeed unless we have the right people and the right culture at the War Department.
This is the culture war has entered the Pentagon. Guys, could you imagine this? You know, right after 9/11, we ex-Muslims, we felt like, oh, this is a lost cause. Like in the West, when we were talking about Islam and leftism, we were being censored left and right. We were losing all our accounts. We, like, Atheist Republic lost a Facebook page that had 2.5 million followers, right? These things, like, we didn't expect people talking about the culture war this way, for it to become normalized in such a degree. You know, I don't know if we're going too far on the other side, but the fact that the stuff that we used to say is now being said at such high levels and from such high places, it's kind of crazy for some of us who used to be saying these things with so much fear and consideration for losing our accounts and stuff. This is kind of crazy. The culture, like it was everywhere. This culture, the stuff that we used to say is now everywhere, including the Pentagon. So here, the culture war is now inside the Pentagon.
If I've learned one,
yeah, we had, guys, yes, 2.5 million followers we had on Facebook. We lost it.
And the right culture at the
exactly. Shauna is saying the vibe shift is real. Yeah, so we have to be careful not to go too far on the other side.
War Department. If I've learned one core lesson in my 8 months in this job, it's that personnel is policy. Personnel is policy. The best way to take care of troops is to give them good leaders committed to the warfighting culture of the department. Not perfect leaders, good leaders. Competent, qualified, professional, agile, aggressive, innovative, risk-taking, apolitical, faithful to their oath and to the Constitution.
Apolitical, okay.
Eugene Sledge, in his World War II memoir, wrote, quote, "War is brutish, inglorious, and a terrible waste. Combat leaves an indelible mark on those who are forced to endure it. The only redeeming factors are my comrades' incredible bravery and their devotion to each other." In combat, there are thousands of variables, as I learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, and as so many of you did in so many more places. Leaders can only control about 3 of them. You control how well you're trained, mostly how well you're equipped, and the last variable is how well you lead. After that, you're on your own. Our warfighters are entitled to be led by the best and most capable leaders. That is who we need you all to be. Even then, in combat, even if you do everything right, you may still lose people because the enemy always gets a vote. We have a sacred duty to ensure that our warriors are led by the most capable and qualified combat leaders. This is one.
Okay, so he's basically setting some. He's preparing everybody to say, like he's saying, he's basically letting you know who we need, so that he could basically start talking about who we don't need. Okay, so he's preparing you for that. So among these are the leaders. These are all the leaders when it comes to the U.S. military. These are all the leaders, right? So who's going to get removed and based on what criteria? And it seems to be cultural because he mentioned culture. So let's see. And it's culture, but apolitical. How could you screen people by culture while being apolitical at the same time? That's very interesting. Let's see.
One thing you and I can control. And we owe it to the force to deliver it. For too long, we have simply not done that. The military has been forced by foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things.
Okay.
In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay. Some of it obvious, some of it hidden. Or as the chairman has put it, we are clearing out the debris, removing the distractions, clearing the way for leaders to be leaders. You might say we're ending the war on warriors. I heard someone wrote a book about that. For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts. We've pretended that combat arms and non-combat arms are the same thing. We've weeded out so-called toxic leaders under the guise of double-blind psychology assessments, promoting risk-averse, go-along-to-get-along conformists instead. You name it, the department did it.
Like what?
Foolish and reckless political leaders set the wrong compass heading.
Okay.
We lost our way.
Give examples. He's going to give woke examples, wokey examples.
We became
Oh, we got a super chat. I will read the super chat soon. I'm just want to wait for his examples.
the woke department,
Oh, there we go.
but not anymore.
Oh, wait. First mention of wokeism.
The wrong compass heading, and we lost our way. We became the woke department, but not anymore. Right now, I'm looking out at a sea of Americans who made a choice when they were young men and young women to do something most Americans will not, to serve something greater than yourselves, to fight for God.
Okay, you need to define what you mean by woke so that we can see if we agree with you or not. Let me actually respond to the super chat. Hold on. Where's the super chat? Chat filter, fan funding. All right. Gaging American saying, would you consider Alan Turing gay computers? I know who Alan Turing is. Gay computer scientist who broke the, oh, you're saying it for other people. The Enigma machine, sentenced to chemical castration, be a DEI hire? Obviously not. Why would you even ask that? Obviously he's the opposite of a DEI hire, because once they found out that he's gay, they punished him. So you know that once they found out he's gay, when they found out that he's gay, being gay back then was a crime. So obviously him being gay did not work in his advantage for him to get his position. So how could that be a DEI hire? That's the opposite of a DEI hire. That was discrimination against him because he was gay. They punished him to the point of suicide. Do you know what Asian American? I think you understand how DEI works. What they did to him was the opposite of DEI. They punished him for being gay. Yeah.
God and country, Americans will not. To serve something greater than yourselves, to fight for God.
He was a hero of the UK. He saved millions and millions of people, and then once they found out that he's gay, they punished him until to the point that he committed suicide. So it's absolute insanity.
God and country, for freedom and the Constitution. You made a choice to serve when others did not, and I commend you. You are truly the best of America. But this does not mean, and this goes for all of us, that our path to this auditorium on this day was a straight line, or that the conditions of the formations we lead are where we want them to be. You love your country, and we love this uniform, which is why we must do better.
Okay, guys, being anti-woke is only effective if you actually tell us what you mean by woke, and that we could determine that you being anti-woke is not you being anti-liberal. Okay, it's good to be anti-woke, but as long as you make sure you make it very clear what you mean by that. So I hope he makes it clear.
We just have to be honest. We have to say with our mouths what we see with our eyes, to just tell it like it is in plain English, to point out the obvious things right in front of us. That's what leaders must do. We cannot go another day without directly addressing the plank in our own eye, without addressing the problems in our own commands and in our own formations. This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more.
But to rip out the politics, that is a political thing to do by itself, isn't it? To rip out the politics. I don't know. Maybe you could say that you need to take a political action to remove politicizing the military. So maybe you need politics to remove the politics. Shauna just gave us a super chat saying, do you think this is preparing because Russia is doubling down and Trump is starting to see? I don't know. I think this was Pete Hegseth's agenda to begin with. I don't know if they're preparing for something specifically. I think they're more concerned with China than Russia. I think they consider Russia to be more of a Europe's problem than America's problem. I think when it comes to preparing military-wise, United States is more concerned with making sure that China gets the message more than Russia, because Russia is more of a Europe problem than America problem. Oh, we got another super chat. Gaging American saying, Navjo code talkers helped us encode military messages in Pacific theater because the Japanese had zero Navajo speakers. Diversity can be advantageous. Yeah, I don't know why you're telling me these Gaging American. I don't think, like, we haven't even heard yet what Pete Hegseth is saying. You keep saying he hasn't yet told us what he means by woke. So we have to wait and see. Like, you're responding to a claim that hasn't been made yet. So let's actually hear what he means by woke, or if he doesn't define it, then we could actually criticize him for not being very clear. So let's actually wait before we actually. I mean, unless you guys have already watched this, let's actually hear what he means by woke before we push back against it.
Identity months, DEI offices.
Oh, wait. Oh, he's actually saying something.
No more identity months.
No more identity months. I actually agree with that. You guys agree identity months are bullshit?
The politics.
Especially if it's based on identities that are innate, that you're born with it.
No more identity months.
Yeah.
DEI offices.
DEI offices are bullshit. I agree with that.
Dudes in dresses.
Dudes in dresses. Okay, here's the thing. Dudes in dresses in the military. What if somebody, I agree that if you show up at your work in a dress, that makes no fucking sense. But what if you just do your job in the military with your uniform, and then when you're at home, you wear a dress? Like, what do you mean, do it in dresses? I mean, honestly, women shouldn't be in dresses in the military either, right? So I think like neither men or women should be in dresses while they're in the military. But is he talking about what you do at home when you're not serving your country? What is he? What do you mean, no dudes in dresses? So this is the thing that we need to clarify here. So I agree with no dudes in dresses and no women in dresses while serving. I would agree with that. Right? So, but why would you mind if they are wearing dresses when they're at home? So you need to clarify what you mean by this. Right? Do you guys agree? Who agrees with? Do you guys agree that if a man passes all the tests and meets all the standards to serve his country in the military, okay, then it shouldn't matter if on his private time, if he wants to wear women's dresses, then it shouldn't matter whether or not they're part of the military or not. Do you guys agree? I think so. Yeah, you need to clarify what do you mean no more dudes in dresses. Like, by the way, guys, did we have this problem that men were wearing dresses while they were at in the US military while they were at work? Like, was that a thing? Because if it wasn't a thing, then I don't know what you're complaining about. Was that a thing? Let me see. Let me ask ChatGPT. Before Trump became president, did we have U.S. military personnel, men wearing dresses while at work? Was that a thing before Trump became the president? I don't know what I'm at. I don't even know what I'm asking. So let me actually, because I don't know what we're complaining about here. So, oh wait, Mark is saying you're taking him literally. It's a transphobic remark. Is it transphobic?
ideological garbage that had infected our department.
Yeah, maybe it is transphobic. It wouldn't be transphobic if I was saying that if you want to be trans, if you're trans, then don't bring cross-dressing or whatever. I mean, cross-dressing is something separate from being trans. Those are two different worlds. I don't think they understand the difference. But anyways, I think like whatever you want to do when it comes to expressing your gender or whatever, if you want to keep it at home, I mean, honestly, even if you're a cis straight man, I don't want you to bring that to work. Like, I don't want you to express your straightness at work. I don't know. Let me see. I think you're right. I think he's just being transphobic. Let me see. Short answer, no, not an official wide open practice. Before Trump took office, the Pentagon under Secretary Ash Carter changed policy so transgender people could serve openly. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, if you want to be merit based, then who gives a shit if you're trans or not? Even if you are even if you're one of those Christians who thinks that transgender people are just delusional and there's no such thing as being trans, if you are a right-leaning person that is merit-based, then who gives a shit if they're trans or not? If they have passed all the tests and they have demonstrated that they meet the physical, all the standards, they have the physical ability and they have the mental and physical ability to defend their country, then who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Even if you're anti-trans, when it comes to the military, all you need to care about is if this person is physically and mentally capable enough to protect my country, and those tests are in place to basically figure that out. So if they pass it, who gives a fuck if they're trans? Like I'm trying to talk to people who might even be anti-trans, because obviously if you're not anti-trans, this doesn't even matter to you. But I'm saying, even if you are anti-trans, what you want from military personnel is their ability to defend your country. No? Am I missing something here? I don't know if I'm missing something here. But you guys agree with me? Anybody here disagree with me? Oh yeah, Sean is saying the problem is that it came with other DEI stuff. Yeah, okay, so I agree with that. If you got the job because you're trans, then get the fuck out, okay? But that's not what Pete Hegseth is saying. Pete Hegseth is not saying that if you got the job because you're trans, then that's DEI and therefore you're not qualified. That's not what he's saying. He says no more dues and dresses. Basically, to me, it seems like he's suggesting no trans people in the military, which is as bad as DEI, even worse than DEI. So what we liberal people, we don't want DEI, but we also don't want discrimination. We want everything to be based on merit. We want people to not get any advantages because they belong to any groups, but we also don't want them to get any disadvantages because they belong into a group. Right? So if you're saying like, hey, you got this job because you're trans, well, fuck you, no. But if you, on the other hand, if you also say you didn't got this job because you're trans, that's also fuck you, right? Like, do you guys agree? I think both of them are wrong. You got this job because you're trans. That's fucked up. That's woke leftism. And then you didn't get this job because you're trans. That's right-leaning wokeism. Somebody's saying you are wrong. Okay, why? How am I wrong? Tell me. Sean is saying it's not worse than DEI. Okay, fine. It's as bad as DEI. It's as bad as DEI, right? Would you guys agree that it's as bad as DEI? It's as, yeah. Would you accept it? Joe is saying they were dresses on duty. Well, okay, well then if they were dresses on duty, then that's fucked up. Okay, neither men or women should be wearing dresses on duty. Jack is saying Armin is right. Discrimination is worse than DEI. I don't know how you measure which one is worse. I just think if you go based on being it being based on merit, then you're becoming less efficient. I don't know which one is worse. I don't know how to measure. Gagin American gave us a super chat saying, how would you know who is a Nepo, DEI, or merit hire? By making them pass tests, by having exams, by having tests. That's how you do it. By having filters, exams, tests. That isn't that obvious? Occasionally did dragon and oh, so Gagin American also gave us a super chat saying Navy men or occasionally did drag to entertain themselves to pass the time on long voyages. Yeah, I don't know. They did drag? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's occasionally. What do you guys think about that? Yeah, I don't think that's professional. I mean, we wouldn't accept that with women doing it, so we shouldn't accept that with men doing it either. It just seems very unprofessional. So somebody saying DEI is not discrimination. Oh, it's absolutely is discrimination. Saying it's an acknowledgement of the way hate has impacted minorities. Okay, so Voodoo, you have no idea what you're talking about. If you want to acknowledge that by giving them any privileges or basically giving them a leg up, basically giving them an advantage, the only way that you could give some people an advantage is by taking it away from some other people. So it absolutely is discrimination. Like, oh, it's just acknowledgement. Acknowledgement how? By giving some group of people an advantage. The only way you could give any group of people any advantage is by taking it away from some other people. So DEI is absolutely discrimination. DEI is absolutely racist, is sexist, racist. It absolutely is.
Department to rip out.
Yeah, but I didn't like that line. I am very anti DEI and I'm very anti woke, but I didn't like the line where he said no more dues and dresses. Okay? Because if you're serving in the military and then you're professional while you're serving and then you go home and you wear a fucking dress while you're at home or when you are at your own time off work, then I shouldn't give a fucking shit like what you're doing off work. As long as you're professional at work, as long as you're doing your job, I don't give a shit what you're doing off work. So I don't like that line.
Day one, to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses.
Yeah, see, that's where you fucked up. I like it when you say no more DEI offices, but you have to clarify what you mean. At dudes in dresses at work?
No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or
no more climate change worship. What the fuck does that mean? So I do agree that some people have exaggerated the effects of climate change, but climate change is happening and it is man-made. So I don't know what you mean by worship. Okay, so maybe you could say it has nothing to do with the military, and I would agree with that. That the military's job has nothing to do with with climate change. So maybe that's a good point. But again, you're not being very clear. Okay, Shauna is saying, Armin, they don't care about what they're doing after hours. They can wear dresses at home. It's inherent in the context. Is it inherent in the context? So are you saying that we had a problem of active members of the military wearing dresses while serving? Because if you're saying that he's not talking about them wearing dresses at home, then he must be talking about them wearing dresses at work. What was that a thing? If that was a thing, I haven't heard of it. But if that was a thing, I agree that should be stopped. Because somebody else told me that I am wrong. Because Shana, somebody else in the chat was telling me that no, Armin, this guy's just being transphobic. Maybe he needs to be more clear.
No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris.
Gender delusions? Well,
no more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris.
Gender delusion. What does he mean by that? There's a Marine in the chat. Can you talk to him? Well, okay. What's his name? Just tell me. You guys just, I don't know who it is. Thank you, Neil Bunny, for the super chat. Yeah, Amit is saying, no, it is transphobic. Amit is a right-leaning guy, and he's telling me that what Pete said is transphobic.
More division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit. I've made it my mission to uproot the obvious distractions that made us less capable and less lethal.
So, okay, so when you say no more gender delusion, you're obviously taking a political. So, because here's the thing, the disagreement is over whether gender and sex are two different things. Okay, so the delusional part is from the woke cliff is the people who consider biological sex to be something that you could change. Your gender identity is a different conversation, and whether or not you agree with that or not, calling it a delusion will make you taking a political stance here, which is in contradiction to what he said regarding making the army apolitical. So I think the way he should have phrased it is that whatever your views on these are, we're going to keep it out of the army. Instead of calling it gender delusion, because by calling it the gender delusion, he's taking a position on it instead of making it apolitical. I think instead of taking a position on it, he should have said, whatever your opinions are on these subjects, it doesn't belong in the military. That would have been a better wording. What do you guys think?
We are done with that shit.
Yeah, it's calling it shit.
I've made it my mission to uproot the obvious distractions that made us less capable and less lethal. That said, the War Department requires the next step. Underneath the woke garbage is a deeper problem, and a more important problem that we are fixing and fixing fast. Common sense is back at the White House, so making the necessary changes is actually pretty straightforward. President Trump expects it. And the litmus test for these changes is pretty simple. Would I want my eldest son, who is 15 years old, eventually joining the types of formations that we are currently wielding? If in any way the answer to that is no, or even yes, but, then we're doing something wrong. Because my son is no more important than any other American citizen who dons the cloth of our nation. He is no more important than your son. All precious souls made in the image and likeness of God. Every parent deserves to know that their son or their daughter that joins our ranks is entering exactly the kind of unit that the Secretary of War would want his son to join.
Well, I don't know. That's not a good metric. What you want for your son might be different from what someone else wants for their son.
The Secretary of War would want his son to join. Think of it as the golden rule test. Jesus said, do unto others that's what you would have done unto yourself.
Okay, so we're violating secularism here as well. We're using religion as a way to make arguments for politics. That's great. Fucking great.
It's the ultimate simplifying test of truth. The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit.
Yeah, that makes no sense because the parents want different things for their children.
Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops?
Okay, that's a good point. Fat, no.
Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops?
See, that's good. That's I agree with you here. Fat, undertrained, these are not good. Like, these are merit-based. This is merit-based. Right? Do you guys agree? Okay, so I don't agree with no trans in the military, and I don't agree with no gays in the military. Okay, you could be trans and really good at what you're doing. I don't know in the military, right? Do you guys agree with me in the chat that if you're trans, that should not be used against you in the whether or not you join the military? Can I have? Do you guys in the chat agree with me on that? Like, does anybody in the chat think that if somebody is trans, that means that they should not make it into the military? Like, do you guys actually believe that? Some of you seem to believe that. I mean, if somebody is good at their job, they're good at their job, even if you don't agree with them being trans. Oh, Gage and American. I'm not reading that. What the hell is that? Ew. Gage and American. I'm not reading that. Amit saying my commander was gay. I don't care. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Amir, another Amir is saying depends. They don't bring. Yeah, Amir. Yeah, they don't bring, as long as they don't bring that into. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight, or you shouldn't bring your sexual preferences or sexual identity into your job, regardless of whether you're gay or straight or cis or trans. I don't care. Even if you're straight cis, I don't want you to bring your sexual identity or sexual preferences into work. It doesn't really matter. Like, just keep all of that stuff at home. But if you can fight, then you can fight. if you are a fit, capable person that you could fight and protect your country, who gives a shit if you're trans or not? Like, do you guys not agree with that? I think that's an easy thing to agree upon, right? Shana. Emmett saying, yes, as long as you're not bother the workplace. Yeah, as long as you don't bother us with it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's good. Those is saying, okay, somebody's saying effeminate men can't fight. Okay, well, if you're right, then they wouldn't pass the test. So you're saying effeminate men can't fight. Okay, so we have tests that they have to go through. If somebody is trans and you're saying that if they're trans or gay, they wouldn't be able to fight, so they would fail the test and they wouldn't get in. But if they pass the test, which means that they can fight, then you shouldn't care how gay or trans they are because they passed the test. If you're right about the fact that they can't fight, then they will fail the test. Right? So all you have to care about is the test. The test should be tough enough so that when you pass it, it means that you can fight. And then regardless of whether you're man, woman, gay, bi, straight, cis, trans, you passing the test will determine everything. Gasian American gave us a super chat saying, I'm pretty sure trans people can still shoot a gun or order a drone strike. Many closeted trans women thinking it will man them up. It didn't. I don't care whether these are true or not. If you pass the test, then you are qualified. I don't want DEI, and I don't want the other side of DEI either. I just want merit-based tests and filters that once you pass, it means that you could fight. That should be all. That should be the end of conversation.
Or alongside people who can't meet basic standards?
Yeah, but if you're fat, then you're not fit. If you're fat, you're not fit. If you're not fit, then it means you're not physically capable.
Undertrained.
No. I mean, no offense to fat people. I hope if you're fat, you know that you're not good to serve in the military. At least not in the combat zone. Maybe you could have an office job or a computer job or something else. But I hope if you're a fat person yourself, you understand that I'm not going to be able to serve in the combat zone.
Troops, or alongside people who can't meet basic standards, or in a unit where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting.
Yeah, I mean, if it's merit, then who gives a shit if they're trans or not? You just said no dues and
were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting.
Mark in the chat is saying, tell that to sumo wrestlers. Hey, sumo wrestlers are good for sumo wrestling. I'm pretty sure sumo wrestlers in an active combat zone in modern military fight, they would be the first to die.
The answer is not just no, it's hell no. This means at the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men, or troops who are not fully proficient on their assigned weapons, platform, or task, or under a leader who was the first, but not the best. Standards must be uniform, gender neutral, and high. If not,
okay, gender neutral. Oh, standards needs to look at this.
Gender neutral and standards must be uniform, gender neutral, and high.
Okay. So if your gender neutral high standard was passed by a trans person, can they make it in? It's gender neutral. So if somebody who's trans passes this gender neutral test, are they allowed? Somebody is saying to me, you are a Jew. Is that the new version of claims that you are gay? Now they're saying to me, you are a Jew. Wow. Like, it's amazing how people try to insult me by calling me a Jew. Very telling. Oh, by the way, we reached our goal. We got 10 super chats. Thank you. Gideon America is saying, would you consider ex-fat people who take GLP-1, I don't know what GLP-1 is. So you failed to explain what you mean. What is GLP-1? Yeah, I don't know. So you should explain better, Asian American, next time.
If not, they're not standards. They're just suggestions. Suggestions.
Deus is saying mentally ill should not be soldier. What if they pass the test that shows that they can fight? Okay, if you're calling them mentally ill and therefore not fit for fighting, what if they pass a very difficult test designed to demonstrate who cannot fight, who can and who cannot fight?
That get our sons and daughters killed. When it comes to combat arms units, and there are many different stripes across our joint force, the era of politically correct, overly sensitive, don't hurt anyone's feelings leadership ends right now.
Yeah,
at every level. Either you can meet the standard, either you can do the job, either you are disciplined, fit, and trained, or you are out.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why today.
Yeah, if you're not fit and trained, then you cannot, if you cannot fight, if you're not fit, like, I don't understand fat soldiers in them and on the combat zone. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Are we trying to diversify based on weight as well?
Either you can meet the standard, either you can do the job, either you are disciplined, fit, and trained, or you are out.
Yeah, so somebody's saying, Nailbun is saying gender dysphoria is a mental illness. Yeah, it's true. And some people think that's an insult to trans people. It's not, because trans people, by going to the doctor and looking for a solution to their gender dysphoria, are basically agreeing that this is a mental illness. If it's a mental illness, if it wasn't an illness, then you wouldn't be looking for a solution for it. So obviously, and calling it a mental illness is not an insult, because mental illness is not an insult. But you're right, it is a mental illness. That's why, like, I mean, even if you're pro-trans, you shouldn't be against that, because if you're for gender, basically changing your gender as a solution, that is a solution to an illness. Yeah, a transformation is a basically solution to an illness. So gender dysphoria is categorized as a mental illness. But again, it shows that not all mental illness makes you disqualified, because many people have depression and they're effective at their job. They have anxiety and they're effective at their job. Many people have there are many different mental illnesses that people have, and they're still very effective at their job. Gasian American gave a super chat saying, Armin, we should consider people with dwarvism in our space force. It'll be way cheaper. GLP-1 is a weight loss drug. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, weight loss, if you need these types of drugs to lose weight, that means that you don't have discipline. Somebody who is fit, it's not just about that you demonstrating that you're physically in good shape to be able to do the physical activities required to do in a combat zone. You being fit shows also that you have the discipline required to keep yourself fit. If you're cheating using drugs, that means that you are not a disciplined person. You do not have the mental capability to stick with routines and long-term actions that gets you to a desired goal. So yeah, I don't think that makes
At every level, either you can meet the standard, either you can do the job, either you are disciplined, fit, and trained, or you are out. And that's
Yeah, that
why
was a joke,
today,
Jenny. Jenny, yeah, Asian American was joking when it comes to dwarvism. He was joking.
and trained, or you are out. And that's why today, at my direction, and this is the first of 10 Department of War directives that are arriving at your commands as we speak and in your inbox. Today, at my direction, each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only. Because this job is life or death.
Wait, only male?
Every designated combat arms position returns to the highest male standard only.
Oh, male standard. But if a woman passes it, they would get the job as well, right?
Because this job is life or death. Standards must be met. And not just met, at every level, we should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. It's common sense and core to who we are and what we do. It should be in our DNA. Today, at my direction, we are also adding a combat field test for combat arms units that must be executable in any environment at any time and with combat equipment. These tests, they'll look familiar. They'll resemble the Army Expert Physical Fitness Assessment or the Marine Corps Combat Fitness Test. I'm also directing that warfighters in combat jobs execute their service fitness test at a gender-neutral, age-normed male standard scored above 70%. It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops.
Do you guys agree that we shouldn't have fat troops? I think, like, regarding the trans stuff, we could have some disagreements here in the chat. But with regards to, fat, there's no excuse for being fat and being part of the troops. Do you guys agree with that? I don't know. Let me know if you guys agree with that in the chat. Let me see. We got 2 super chats. Asian American saying, if I can pay for my soldiers Viagra, I can pay for their hormone therapy. American cis male soldiers get Viagra. I don't think these are the same. I think that's a false analogy. Well, then why don't you pay for, some, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand, how does that make sense? Like, because you pay for that, you have to pay for the other thing. I think one of these costs much more than the other one. And Anonymous is saying, Asian American, one of those things helps reproduction of the population. The other one feeds the delusion of mental illness. Well, if it's mental illness, then whatever. So Anonymous, if it's mental illness, then it requires a solution. So you might disagree with the solution that pro-trans people say, but at the end of the day, mental illness, if you're categorizing it as a mental illness, then it requires support. So would you be funding the support for, because let's say some troops were having mental illness in the form of anxiety or depression, would you pay for that? Because we cannot say, like, nobody with any mental illness would not be allowed in the military, because that would basically cut out, I don't know, 90% of the population, I think. Wouldn't it? But I don't agree with either of your arguments. I don't think just because we pay for something, that means that we have to pay for other things. And I also don't agree that the argument against it is that it's mental illness, because if it's mental illness, then it has a cost, curing it and managing it has some cost associated with it.
Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Should we not have fat generals? Because generals are not actively involved in the combat zone. So I agree that anybody whose job is for them to be active in the combat zone, they need to be fit. But the generals, they're not active in the combat zone. Why do they need to be fit? I think maybe the only argument you could make in that in the favor of the generals need to be fit as well is that to create a sense of fairness, because the generals are the people who order the troops to do this and this and that. So if every single one of the troops is fit, and the general would lose his breath once he takes 5 steps, then it's basically it's kind of messed up that I'm getting orders from somebody who cannot even, who has a hard time wiping his ass, like who cannot even like get out of bed without actually losing his breath. It's kind of annoying that this guy who would not be able to save himself in fighting a child is basically telling us to go fight the enemy and risk our lives. Yeah, so maybe only as a matter of fairness and getting a sense that our leaders are basically are like us. Maybe in that sense they need to be fit. I don't know. That's the best argument I could make. But should the generals be fit, or does it matter? What do you guys think? George Samantha saying, do you think being gay is a mental illness? No, because for something to be a mental illness, it has to cause you difficulty in life, right? So if you are born in a body that you do not like, right? So you are uncomfortable with your own freaking skin, then that's basically it's not an insult to call that a mental illness, right? You need a cure. So we might disagree with the cure. Pro-trans people would say transitioning is the cure. Anti-trans people would say, something else is the cure. But I think everybody agrees that requires a cure, right? Because you are uncomfortable with the body that you're in. How is that not a mental illness? But if you're gay, that's not a mental illness, because you will be completely happy with your life if you just get to have sex with the person, or be in love with, or have a life with, or have sex with the same gender as yourself. So that's not a mental illness. The amount of if your mental situation causes you a lot of discomfort in a way that messes up a normal life for you, then it's an illness. But if not, if you could live a normal life, then it's not an illness. Gaging American give us a super chat saying only per person, not in totality. I don't know what that's referring to.
And leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
Do you guys agree that calling being transgender, being trans a mental illness, that is not an insult? Like, for example, somebody suffering from depression, that's a mental illness. Calling that a mental illness is not an insult towards depressed people. Somebody who's suffering from anxiety, calling that a mental illness, you're not insulting them by calling it a mental illness. Do you guys understand that?
Completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the joint force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our joint force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that already, but we're codifying it. And we're not talking like hot yoga and stretching. Real hard PT. There's either as a unit.
This part I completely agree with. Like it makes. Did they not have this before? Like, what is he introducing? I hope that the U.S. military had these standards before. that you had some really hard physical tests that you had to pass before you were allowed to be part of the troops. Like I completely agree with him, but I hope that this was already there. Like I hope like he's not introducing something new.
And stretching. Real hard PT, either as a unit or as an individual. At every level, from the Joint Chiefs to everyone in this room to the youngest private, leaders set the standard. And so many of you do this already. Active, guard, and reserve. This also means grooming standards. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're going to cut our hair, shave our beards, and adhere to standards. Because it's like the broken windows theory of policing. It's like when you let the small stuff go, the big stuff eventually goes. So you have to address the small stuff. This is on duty in the...
I don't know, man. Beards are very manly. Don't you want to have like a very manly army? Like beards, like if you have an army of bearded men coming at you, you will basically cower in fear and basically let them do whatever they want. I don't know what the fuck. Like, hey, but like an army of bearded men sounds very badass. I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Field and in the rear. If you want a beard, you can join special forces. If not, then shave. We don't have a military full of Nordic pagans, but unfortunately, we have had leaders who either refuse to call BS and enforce standards, or leaders who felt like they were not allowed to enforce standards.
It's kind of strange that we have gathered all the top generals of the United States in one place to tell them that no more beards. That's a little bit weird. I mean, I get the no fat part, like that makes sense, but no beard, is that really that big of a difference?
Both are unacceptable.
I guess it's about being uniformity and discipline, maybe,
Felt like they were not allowed to enforce standards. Both are unacceptable. And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done.
No more beardos? Beardos is a term? I've never heard that before.
Simply put, if you do not...
Did he just say no more beardos? Did I hear that right?
Over. No more beardos.
No more beardos. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? I've never heard that before. What the fuck?
The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done. Simply put, if you do not meet the male level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass...
Guys, what is more manly than a beard? Like, what the fuck? Male physical standards? Like, okay.
Simply put, if you do not meet the male level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional...
Like, I don't understand. Well, how does having a beard stop you from fighting the enemy? Like, can somebody explain this to me? I don't get it. Graham is saying Hegseth is a Nordic surname and he's talking about Nordic pagans. Oh, yeah. He's basically speaking out against the tradition of his ancestors. Engaged American gave us a super chat saying, who is we? I am the American taxpayer. How do define fat? What's the body fat percentage cutoff? The commander-in-chief should be fit to. Well, I don't know what the line is, but I'm pretty sure it's really easy to come up with the cutoff. Just because I don't know what the cutoff is, it doesn't mean that you cannot define a cutoff. I'm pretty sure it's easy to find a cutoff point that makes it that makes sense for the military. Anonymous saying, if you have a beard, a gas mask can't be airtight. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I take everything I said back. If you have a beard, a gas mask can't be airtight. That makes complete sense. I agree with you now. I take everything. No beard. I'm on no beardos. No beardos. I completely agree. Okay, so here's the why can't cis women have long hair but not cis men? Well, I don't know why you're asking me that. I never said that. Why can't cis women have long hair but not cis men? Did I say cis? Did I say that? I don't know why. Did he say that? Did Hegseth said that? I think he's... I don't know why you're asking me. I never said
for
that.
combat positions. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done.
Yeah, but I agree. If men have to shave their head, then women should do. Yeah, I actually agree with that. If the condition for men to join the troops is for them to have short hair, then women should have short hair as well.
Simply put, if you do not meet the male level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test or
Yeah, so if you're a woman and you want to join the troops, you want to join the military, then you should. It doesn't matter that you're a woman. You being a woman should not be you work in your favor or against you. The tests are there. You pass it, you get in. You don't, you don't. Easy.
don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position or a new profession. I sincerely appreciate the proactive efforts the secretaries have already taken in some of those areas, service secretaries. And these directives are intended to simply accelerate those efforts. On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders. Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership. Leading warfighters toward the goals of high, gender-neutral, and uncompromising standards in order to forge a cohesive, formidable, and lethal Department of War is not toxic.
I mean, duh. Like, do we need to even say these things? Like, did we not have these things? Didn't we already have like, I don't know. I'm genuinely asking. Like, is he introducing a new concept? I assume that you already have really high standards in the US military for people to join. Were they letting everybody, like anybody in before? Like, how was it before?
It is our duty, consistent with our constitutional oath. Real toxic leadership.
Like, I'm not saying this to be against them. Like, I'm genuinely asking. Like, was this a problem?
Consistent with our constitutional oath. Real toxic
they were not
leadership
enforced?
is endangering subordinates with low standards. Real toxic leadership is promoting people based on immutable characteristics or quotas instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership is promoting destructive ideologies that are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God.
Okay, you're like, you want to make it apolitical, then make it apolitical. just say it should be merit based. Why are you bringing your own political and religious views into it?
That are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God, as Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence. The definition of toxic has been turned upside down.
Did he say that in the Declaration of the Independence, that no trans people in the military?
The definition of toxic has been turned upside down, and we're correcting that. That's why today, at my direction, we're undertaking a full review of the department's definitions of so-called toxic leadership, bullying, and hazing, to empower leaders to enforce standards without fear of retribution or second guessing. Of course, you can't do like nasty bullying and hazing. We're talking about words like bullying and hazing and toxic. They've been weaponized and bastardized inside our formations, undercutting commanders and NCOs. No more. Setting, achieving, and maintaining high standards is what you all do. And if that makes me toxic, then so be it. Second, today at our direction, we're ensuring that every service, every unit, every schoolhouse, and every form of professional military education conduct an immediate review of their standards. Now, we've done this in many places already, but today it goes across the entire Department of War. Any place where tried and true physical standards were altered, especially since 2015 when combat arms standards were changed to ensure females could qualify, must be returned to their original standard. Other standards have been manipulated to hit racial quotas as well, which is just as unacceptable.
Yeah, that's racist. That's fucking bullshit. So here I'm completely in line with him. Every time you have racial quotas, like you had that in the US military? What the fuck? I didn't know that actually. What the fuck? You had racial quotas in the US military? That's racist. That's racist. So you guys understand that every time you have racial quotas, you're basically saying no to members of a racial group because they are member. Every time you're saying yes to somebody because they're a member of a so-called racial group, you have to, in effect, say no to somebody else because they're a member of a different racial group. That makes absolute, what the fuck? That is racist. You guys agree in the chat that racial quotas are racist? You guys, I hope you agree with me on that.
Must be returned to their original.
Like nobody has, like, people like, oh no, I mean DEI doesn't work like that. It exactly works like that. Racial quotas and DEI, every time you give even the slightest advantage to any group, that comes at the cost of a disadvantage to another group. You cannot give advantage to people without giving disadvantage to another. It doesn't work like that.
Original standard. Other standards have been.
Yeah, exactly. Carl's saying that was a thing. I didn't know that. What the fuck? That was a thing? Racial quotas were a thing at the US military?
Must be returned to their original standard. Other standards have been manipulated to hit racial quotas as well, which is just as unacceptable. This too must end. Merit only. The president talks about it all the time. Merit-based.
Yeah, just say that. Just keep saying that. Don't say the other things. Just make it merit-based.
Here are two basic frameworks I urge you to pursue in this process. Standards I call, my staff's heard all about them, the 1990 test and the E6 test. The 1990s test is simple. What were the military standards in 1990? And if they have changed, tell me why. Was it a necessary change based on the evolving landscape of combat?
No.
Or was the change due to a softening, weakening, or gender-based pursuit of other priorities? 1990s seems to be as good a place to start as any.
Yeah, so I agree. If you change things for political reasons, get them back to where they were, but don't make changes based on your own political leanings, okay? Don't make any changes based on left-leaning political, agendas, but at the same time, don't make any changes based on right-leaning political agendas. Just make it merit-based. It's that easy. It's very easy. It's very easy. Forget, religion. Keep religion out of it. Keep left-leaning politics out of it. Keep right-leaning politics out of it. Just make it merit-based. It's that simple.
And the E6 test. Ask yourself, does what you're doing make the leadership, accountability, and lethality efforts of an E6, or frankly, an O3, does it make it easier or more complicated? Does the change empower staff sergeants, petty officers, and tech sergeants to get back to basics? The answer should be a resounding yes. The E6 test or O3 test clarifies a lot, and it clarifies quickly. Because war does not care if you're a man or a woman.
Okay.
Neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight.
Okay, so I'm assuming that women are allowed then, right?
If you're a man or a woman.
As long as
neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight of your rucksack, the size of an artillery round, or the body weight of a casualty on the battlefield who must be carried.
True.
This, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCO.
Oh, yeah. Let me actually see what he says about female troops. But let me actually respond to Anonymous. Anonymous is saying, excluding trans from military because it's a mental illness is indeed merit-based. So, Anonymous, a huge percentage of the population has some sort of a mental illness. Would you basically say people who have any signs of depression or anxiety shouldn't also be make it into the military, even though they're passing every single test? So if somebody who is trans comes in and you have some tests that are really high level, like really hard to pass, and the tests have been designed to demonstrate that you're combat ready and you could actually defend your country in an active combat zone. If you come in and you pass that test, then whatever mental illness you have, it's obviously you have demonstrated that it doesn't in any way get in your way of serving your country and fighting in a combat zone. If the test is designed well enough, even if you have a mental illness, if you pass the test, then you have demonstrated that the mental illness has no effect on your fighting capability. Does that make sense? I don't know if you agree with me or not. You're saying yes, I am. I don't know. What do you mean? What does that mean? Oh no, somebody else is asking. Okay, Sapiening saying, what if a fat general who was fit when he was a soldier is better at war strategy than a fit one? Yeah, I actually agree with that. I don't know if the generals need to be fit. A lot of people, when they get old, they get fat. What if you were a war hero and you were a very fit soldier, and now you're old and you're a general and now you're fat? So yeah, actually, Sapien, you changed my mind. I think the condition for generals should not be that you're not fat. I agree with you, Sapien. You changed my mind based on that super chat. I think the generals should be allowed to be fat. I think only if you're expected to be active in a combat zone, you need to be fit. By the way, guys, mental illness is so widespread. Like, you understand that most people have some sort of a mental illness. You guys do understand that, right?
This is be carried. This, and I want to be very clear about this. This is
So Gandalf is saying, no army, no, that affects affects morale of troops. What if your general was like somebody that was a war hero when he was younger, and now he's like 80 years old and he has a belly? You're going to be like, oh, that's affecting my morale because he has a belly, even though you could see that throughout his young age, he used to be like he used to be a war hero. He was very courageous and he did some really great things. I don't think that would affect morale.
be carried. This, and I want to be very clear about this. This is not about preventing women from serving.
Okay, good. I'm glad you clarified that. As long as the woman can pass the test that men have to pass, then they should be allowed.
We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is.
Okay. Yes.
If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat.
Good.
This is life or death. As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be in a
Yep, some strong woman will be able to beat some. I mean, honestly, if it's merit-based, let's be honest, the vast majority of the people who would pass would be men. Okay? If it's based on physical standards and physical capability, the vast majority of the people who would pass these tests are going to be men. But I'm sure some women would be able to get in, but it's going to be mostly men. That's what merit base is going to be. Like, yeah. Oh, let me see. Anonymous just gave us a super chat saying, yes, I am saying the majority of the population shouldn't serve if they have any sign of mental illness. You're assuming that the mental illness is only debilitating if it physically impairs you. No, I'm not assuming that, because I'm saying you need to design a test. You need to design a test that basically tests your ability to fight for your country, both physically and mentally. if the test is well designed and it tests for that, if you pass it, then that means you are capable. Do you not agree? So you're saying this is a mental illness, which means that you cannot fight, or either physically or mentally, it will inhibit you in some way. If you have a test that is a really good test that tests for all of that, and you pass it while having any sort of mental illness, then the test has done its job by demonstrating that that mental illness did not have enough of an impact for you not to make it into the military. Just work on the fucking test. Just make sure the test is a good test. Why wouldn't you just focus on making the test? If you're right about this mental illness making you incapable of defending your country or fighting in a combat zone, then the test will basically stop you from getting in. Like, if the test is good and you're right, then the test will do its job. But if you're wrong, then the person will make it in. So, and again, you're giving me another super chat saying it's not that you can't fight, it's that you're a liability. Well, the test needs to also test for that as well. Make a test that also checks whether or not you are a liability. Just work on making the test the best test that checks for all of these things, and then see who passes it. Like, that's really easy. If you're right about that, then they wouldn't be able to pass the test.
Effective, lethal fire. You versus
I'm sure there's a way that you could design a filter that also checks whether or not you're a liability.
Enemy held. This is life or death. As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be an effective, lethal fighting force, you must trust that the warrior alongside you in battle is capable, truly physically capable of doing what is necessary under fire. You know, this is the only standard you would want for your kids and for your grandkids. Apply the War Department Golden Rule, the 1990 test, and the E6 test, and it's really hard to go wrong. Third, we are attacking and ending the walking on eggshells and zero defect command culture. A risk-averse culture means officers execute not to lose instead of to win. A risk-averse culture means NCOs are not empowered to enforce standards. Commanders and NCOs don't take necessary risks or make tough adjustments for fear of rocking the boat or making mistakes. A blemish-free record is what peacetime leaders covet the most, which is the worst of all incentives.
I mean, these are obvious points. Let me see. We got 3 more super chats. Pagan Prince is saying, I currently serve with a religious accommodation for a beard. Oh, really? I am qualified with air assault, ESB, and high on, I don't know what these words are, and high on the ACFT score. This is targeted. So wait, so you have, I currently serve with a religious accommodation for a beard. Wait, so that's not fair, Pagan Prince. Does that mean that you get to have a beard while other people in your position don't get to have a beard? If you get to have a beard, everybody should get to have a beard. If other people don't get to have a beard, you shouldn't be able to have a beard. That doesn't make sense. Wait, are you what religious accommodation is that? Wait, which military is that? Are you the US military? Because I think Pete is going to take away your beard. That's what that means, right? Wait, so you're pagan, you're a pagan, and that allows you to have a beard? I don't know. That's weird. Okay. Yeah, the IDF has that, you guys are saying in the chat. That's not good. I don't agree with that. It should be the same rule for everybody. Like, I have this religion, so I get certain privileges because I have a religion. How is that fair? Do you guys agree with me that that's not fair? Yeah, I disagree with the IDF. Okay, Gandalf agrees with me, which is a weird thing to say. Somebody's saying LOL crybaby. How? Why am I crying? Okay, Jackie's saying, yeah, that's not fair. Yep. Same rule for everybody. You don't get to say, like, hey, I believe this, so I get to have different rules. The Asian American saying, as an ex, what is that? I don't know. Be careful with who writes the test. I don't know what that word is. All right, let me see. Nail Bunny is saying you wouldn't put your life in the hands. Okay, hold on. Let me read it from here. That's too far away. You wouldn't put your life in the hands of a guy who's mentally ill. No one will enlist if they believe they'll be forced to, hence the low enlistment. But Nail Bunny, if the person with mental illness passes a really difficult test that is meant to test your combat readiness and everything else required for you to be able to defend yourself, the people that are fighting with you, and your country, then and if you could see how difficult these tests are and how high the standards are, then wouldn't you think, like, okay, I don't, whatever the mental illness is, this guy is a tough person that is not a liability and knows how to fight? Like, wouldn't you, even if you have a mental illness, haven't you demonstrated that you could trust me because I passed this really, really difficult test that was designed to show whether or not I'm capable of doing this task or not? Nail Bunny saying, I wouldn't give a crap if it meant he was going to get me killed. But the test checks for whether or not he's going to get you killed. That's what the test is designed for. The test is designed to see if that is true.
We as senior leaders need to end the poisonous culture of risk aversion and empower our NCOs at all levels to enforce standards. Truth be told, for the most part, we don't need new standards. We just need to reestablish a culture where enforcing standards is possible. And that's why today, at my direction, I'm issuing new policies that will overhaul the IG, EO, and MEO processes. I call it the no more walking on eggshells policy. We are liberating commanders and NCOs. We are liberating you. We are overhauling an inspector general process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. We're doing the same with the equal opportunity and military equal opportunity policies, the EO and MEO at our department.
Yeah, so equal opportunity means everybody gets a shot, regardless of who they are and what their gender identity or orientation is. Everybody gets a shot, and if they pass, they pass, and if they don't, they don't.
No more frivolous complaints, no more anonymous complaints, no more repeat complainants, no more smearing reputations, no more endless waiting, no more legal limbo, no more sidetracking careers, no more walking on eggshells. Of course, being a racist has been illegal in our formation since 1948. Yay. The same goes for sexual harassment. Both are wrong and illegal. Those kinds of infractions will be ruthlessly enforced.
Good.
But telling someone to shave or get a haircut or to get in shape or to fix their uniform or to show up on time or to work hard, that's exactly the kind of discrimination we want. We are not civilians. You are not civilians. You are set apart for a distinct purpose.
Yeah, true. By the way, guys, do you agree with me that if men serving, they have to cut their hair short, then the women shouldn't be able to have long hair just because they're women? Do you guys agree with that? If you pass the test and you are fighting alongside men, then if they're required to cut their hair short, then you have to cut your hair short. I don't care if you're a woman. Do you agree? Yes.
So we, as a department, need to stop acting and thinking like civilians and get back to basics and put the power back in the hands of commanders and NCOs. Commanders and NCOs who make life and death decisions. Commanders and NCOs who enforce standards and ensure readiness. Commanders and NCOs who in this War Department have to look in the mirror and they have to pass the golden rule test. My kids, your kids, America's sons and daughters. So I urge you all here today and those watching, take this guidance and run with it. The core of this speech is the 10 directives we're announcing today. They were written for you.
So some people are saying, no, I don't agree. Military haircuts are really short. Well, then don't join the military. Karen is saying, nope. Daddy Ransom saying, yes, women in combat roles need to have the same standard as men in combat. Yeah, exactly. Why should, like, it should be the same? Why should you get to do something that the men don't get to do? Jack is saying, logically, yes, but emotionally, I wouldn't want to force women to do it. I'm just illogical. Well, you're not the person that has to tell them. Somebody else will tell them. So don't worry. You wouldn't get emotional damage. It's not your job to tell them. Don't worry. Somebody else will tell them.
The core of this speech is the 10 directives we're announcing.
I mean, if you don't like to have short hair, then go get another job.
Today. They were written for you, for Army leadership, for Navy leadership, for Marine Corps leadership, for Air Force leadership, Space Force leadership. These directives are designed to take the monkey off your back and put you, the leadership, back in the driver's seat. Move out with urgency because we have your back. I have your back. And the Commander-in-Chief has your back. And when we give you this guidance, we know mistakes will be made. It's the nature of leadership. But you should not pay for earnest mistakes for your entire career. And that's why today, at my direction, we're making changes to the retention of adverse information on personnel records that will allow leaders with forgivable, earnest, or minor infractions to not be encumbered by those infractions in perpetuity.
Okay, I can see the leftists are going to, there's going to, at some point, I can see it coming already, guys. I'm like, you're going to call me Nostradamus when this happens, okay? Based on these new standards, some soldier somewhere is going to get really bullied and badly treated based on these new standards. And the person responsible for it is going to be forgiven. And the leftists are going to come and take that and show like, oh, this is what toxic masculinity will get you, right? Like I can see this happening because obviously with these new standards, there are going to be somebody that are going to go overboard and somebody is going to get hurt real bad somewhere because of excessive testing, otherwise known as bullying. And we're going to have some real extreme stories coming out and some generals or officers that are going to be forgiven for it. And we're going to be told that this is the result of toxic masculinity. I can see it coming. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But whatever.
Earnest or minor infractions to not be encumbered by those infractions in perpetuity. People make.
Yeah, Michael saying Army people do die in training. Yep. And well, this is from now on, whenever that happens, they're going to say that this is because of Pete Hegseth and toxic masculinity. So from now on, every time that happens, somebody's going to somehow link it to this speech.
Honest mistakes. And our mistakes should not define an entire career. Otherwise, we only try not to make mistakes, and that's not the business we're in. We need risk takers and aggressive leaders and a culture that supports you.
By the way, this entire speech is a far leftist worst nightmare. This is basically a Nazi speech. This is the worst of this to a leftist, to a woke feminist. This is like the worst of humanity at display right now. Like if they put this speech to a third and fourth wave feminist if you put this speech next to a speech of Adolf fucking Hitler, they're going to mark this as more toxic. I bet you they will mark this as more toxic than Adolf fucking Hitler. I bet you, like, yeah.
To make mistakes, and that's not the business we're in. We need risk takers and aggressive leaders and a culture that supports you. Fourth, at the War Department, promotions across the Joint Force will be based on one thing: merit. Colorblind, gender neutral, merit based. The entire promotion process, including evaluations of warfighting capabilities, is being thoroughly re-examined. We've already done a lot in this area, but more changes are coming soon. We'll promote top performing officers and NCOs faster and get rid of poor performers more quickly. Evaluations, education, and field exercises will become real evaluations, not box checks, for every one of us at every level.
By the way, I mean, I'm honestly shocked that this was already not the case in the United States. So I mean, if these changes were necessary, I'm glad that he's making them. But guys, what if? Who wants to make a bet that none of this is going to be relevant in 5 years because we're all going to have robot armies, and the best fighters are going to be people that were good at video games managing a drone army and a robot army in 5 years from now? like no, your human physical ability is going to become irrelevant because winning at battle is all going to be dependent on who has the best robots and drones.
These same reforms happened before World War II as well. General George Marshall and Secretary of War Henry Stimson did the same thing. And we won a world war because of it. As it happens, when he started the job, Chairman Kane gave me a frame and a photo to hang in my office. A matching frame and photo hangs in his. It's a photo of Marshall and Stimson preparing for World War II. Those two leaders famously kept the door open between their offices for the entirety of the war. They worked together, civilian and uniform, every single day. Chairman Kane and I do the same. There is no daylight between us. Our doors are always open. Our job together is to ensure our military is led by the very best, ready to answer.
Oh, wait, guys, there are teleprompters. I didn't see that. It's right there. You see it? Oh, I thought he said, oh, there's one over here at the top. There's one here. Okay, I thought he was basically saying that all organically. Okay, never mind. I just noticed that there's one here and there's one over here.
Is to ensure our military is led by the very best, ready to answer the nation's call. Fifth, as you have seen.
Yeah, D was saying this could all been just an email. What do you guys think? Like, was there any point to bringing all of these generals here and talking to them instead of just sending everybody an email? Like, what's the point of the speech?
Fifth, as you have seen, and the media has obsessed over.
Yeah, maybe because this is not just to the generals. This is just for everybody. I think this is a statement to everybody.
I have fired a number of senior officers since taking over. The previous chairman, other members of the Joint Chiefs, combatant commanders, and other commanders. The rationale for me has been straightforward. It's nearly impossible to change a culture with the same people who helped create or even benefited from that culture, even if that culture was created by a previous president and previous secretary. My approach has been simple. When in doubt, assess the situation, follow your gut, and if it's the best for the military, make a change.
Please don't follow your gut. That's not a good idea.
We all serve at the pleasure of the president every single day.
Wait, I thought you all serve the Constitution. Wait, that's not how the military works in the United States. Does the military works in the pleasure of the president? I thought it's to maintain, it's for to defend the Constitution. I thought I thought if the president violates the Constitution, the military forces will stand against the president in the United States. Guys, I'm not an American. Can the Americans in the chat let me know? Isn't the military supposed to, in the United States, supposed to be loyal to the Constitution, not to the president if there's a conflict? Yeah, I know POTUS is the commander in chief. However, if there's a conflict, the Constitution takes priority. I don't know. Both. Yeah, Bunny's saying both. Yeah, I know. You need to be as a president and the Constitution. But if you have to choose one, if there is a contradiction, the Constitution takes priority. That was, again, I'm not American, but I assume that. Yeah. So POTUS upholds the Constitution. Yes, I understand that. But if it comes a situation where he doesn't, then the military's priority should be the Constitution. That's my understanding.
It's the best for the military. Make a
correct.
change.
Okay.
We all serve at the pleasure of the president every single day.
Ooh.
But in many ways, it's not their fault. It's not your fault. As foolish and reckless as the woke department was, those officers were following elected political leadership. An entire generation of generals and admirals were told that they must parrot the insane fallacy that, quote, our diversity is our strength. Of course, we know our unity is our strength.
Our unity is our strength. Diversity is not strength, but if the condition for unity is not lack of diversity, then your unity will have some diversity in it, and that type of unity will have more strength. So diversity does not give you strength usually, but diversity shows that when it came to unity, you didn't have unreasonable conditions, and lack of unreasonable conditions makes you stronger. That's how I look at it. So, for example, if you see a society, like if you see any institution or any group or any society that is diverse, the diversity itself, if the diversity is manufactured, then that's weakness. If the diversity is forced, then that will cause weakness. But if the diversity organically happens without it being engineered or forced, then it shows that this is a merit-based society that doesn't care about skin color and or other non-merit-based characteristics, which is a sign of a society that will become stronger. So that's how I look at it. Oh, we got a super chat. Carl is saying, wait, am I too alarmist that I hear the speech as a prelude for civil war? Yeah, I think civil war is I don't think we're gonna have civil war in the United States. I think so. Yeah, this is not, no. I think this is not at all that. So yes. The answer is yes. So calm down. Calm down, Carl. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
They
Chill
had to
out.
put out Disney.
Carl, I love you, but chill out.
Of course, we know our unity is our strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBT.
By the way, guys, do you agree with me that my views on diversity? So a simple version of it is manufactured forced diversity makes you weaker. However, organic diversity is a sign that you're in a merit-based society, and being in a merit-based society brings you strength. Do you guys agree with that? Okay. I'm joking, Carl.
LGBTQI plus strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBTQI plus statements. They were told females and males are the same thing, or that males who think they're females totally normal. They were told that we need a green fleet and electric tanks. They were told to kick out Americans who refuse an emergency vaccine. They followed civilian policies set by foolish and reckless political leaders. Our job, my job.
Oh, Anonymous just says couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thank you, Anonymous. I appreciate that, and thank you for your support.
Has been to determine which leaders simply did what they must to answer the prerogatives of civilian leadership, and which leaders are truly invested in the woke department and therefore incapable of embracing the war department and executing new lawful orders. That's it. It's that simple. So for the past 8 months, we've gotten a good look under the hood of our officer corps. We've done our best to thoroughly assess the human terrain. We've had to make trade-offs and some difficult decisions. It's more of an art than a science. We have been and will continue to be judicious.
Okay, that worries me. When you say it's more of an art than a science, that means that to me it's a red flag, because to me that means that you're not measuring things. Like you don't have metrics to see whether the changes that you are making actually has the predicted results or not. When you say it's more of an art than science, that means that you're just basically, to me, it might mean that you're just going based on gut rather than having a hypothesis, thinking that if I change this, it will have a higher output, and then testing it and measuring it to see whether that desired output was achieved by making these changes, because that's the way you should be doing it, instead of just thinking that if we make this change, we will have this output, and hey, do you have any evidence for it? Nope. I just think that's what my gut is telling me. When you say this is more of an art than a science, that worries me.
We've had to make trade-offs and some difficult decisions. It's more of an art than a science.
Yeah, that means you're not measuring things.
We have been and will continue to be judicious, but also expeditious. The new compass heading is clear.
By the way, saying it's more of an art than science, to me, it's like wokey. It's a little bit like woke. It's just we're going by some of our feelings.
Out with the Shirellis, the Mackenzies, and the Millies, and in with the Stockdales, the Schwarzkopfs, and the Pattons. More leadership changes will be made, of that I'm certain. Not because we want to, but because we must. Once again, this is life and death. The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can advance the right policies. Personnel is policy.
By the way, guys, do you like how on this channel, I'm not going to go full on defending somebody or against them? Like, this is what you get on this channel. I like this. I don't like this. I like this. I don't like this. Like, this is not a very, like, you might disagree with me a lot, which is fine, but you have to appreciate at least that I'm not basically just leaning in completely into somebody or against them. I'm just judging every statement individually, and so like Pete Hegseth, for example, said a whole bunch of stuff that I was like, yes, that's great, I agree with that, and he said a whole bunch of stuff like, yeah, I don't like that at all, right? So I think that's a way to be. I know a lot of people don't appreciate that, because when I do that, you get hate from all sides. Like if you like Pete Hegseth, you're just going to remember the times that I said he's wrong. And if you hate him, you're just going to remember every time I said he's right. Okay. And you're just going to be like, oh, fuck Armin. Right. But I hope some people realize that whether I'm right or wrong, this is just me trying to be honest with you guys. Right. I don't know. I hope some people appreciate that. Some people.
I look out at this group and I see great Americans. Yes. Leaders who have given decades to our great republic at great sacrifice to yourselves and to your families. But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. No. We would thank you for your service. But I suspect, I know, the overwhelming majority of you feel the opposite. These words make your hearts full. You love the War Department because you love what you do, the profession of arms. You are hereby liberated to be an apolitical, hard-charging, no-nonsense, constitutional leader that you joined the military to be. We need you locked in on the M, not the D, the E, or the I, not the DEI or the DIE of dime. By that, I mean the M, military, of the instruments of national power. We have entire departments across the government dedicated to diplomatic, informational, and economic lines of effort. We do the M. Nobody else does. And our GoFos need to master it in every domain and every scenario. No more distractions, no more political ideologies, no more debris. Now, of course, we're going to disagree at times. We would not be Americans if we didn't. Being a leader in a large organization like ours means having frank conversations and differences of opinion. You will win some arguments and you will lose some arguments. But when civilian leaders issue lawful orders, we execute. We are professionals in the profession of arms. Our entire constitutional system is predicated upon this understanding. Now, seems like a small thing.
I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff, but I don't know what the point of telling generals. I mean, okay, I don't know. Is there any point, like you're telling people who have committed their entire life to mastering the art of military warfare that their job is to do military warfare? Like, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, maybe the point is that maybe the whole point is that you're liberated to not having to worry about DEI. But again, I don't know. That could have been an email.
Upon this understanding.
By the way, guys, anybody can, maybe I'm wrong. Like, what is the point of all of this? You could have just be one email like, hey, guys, you remember that DEI office that you was basically annoying the shit out of you and you had to basically give in to their demands? We got rid of that, and now you're all free. Like that would be that would be an email that would basically free them all up, and they would be like, "Whoopee! Yay! We don't have to worry about DEI anymore. Thank you." And wouldn't that be enough? Like, wouldn't that email be doing all of this?
Entire constitutional system.
Oh, people ignore emails. Okay, sure.
Is predicated.
I mean, all you have to do is just get rid of the DEI office. In all of the, not just the military, in the entire government. That would have solved this cancer. That would have basically, removed this tumor, and that would be, you could be done with it.
Upon this understanding. Now, seems like a small thing, but it's not.
Oh yeah, D is saying it could have been a Zoom call.
This includes as well the behavior of our troops online. To that end, I want to thank and recognize the services for their new.
Carl is saying in the chat, is he going to purge woke generals like right from the audience like Saddam did? Okay, somebody needs to make an AI version of that. So right after his speech, he's going to go sit on a chair behind the desk, and he's going to, remember, you guys know with which video Carl is referring to? He has to basically take out a cigar, start smoking it. And they're going to, different generals need to be calling out other generals for being woke. And there should be people coming in and taking out the generals as being called out for woke. Somebody make an AI version of that. That would be good. Like, that guy is woke. And so some people come and take it out. Make that video.
Proactive social media policies. Use them. Anonymous, online, or keyboard complaining is not worthy of a warrior. It's cowardice masquerading as conscience. Anonymous, unit-level social media pages that trash commanders, demoralize troops, and undermine unit cohesion must not be tolerated. Again, O3s, E6s. Sixth, we must train and we must maintain. Any moment that we are not training on our mission or maintaining our equipment is a moment we are less prepared for preventing or winning the next war. That is why today, at my direction, we are drastically reducing the ridiculous amount of mandatory training that individuals and units must execute.
Wait, what?
That is why today, at my direction, we are or maintaining our equipment is a moment we are less prepared for preventing or winning the next war. That is
Wait, what? Like less training? Maybe I
that we are
misunderstood
not
this part. Hold on.
training on our mission or maintaining our equipment is a moment we are less prepared for preventing or winning the next war.
Okay.
That is why today, at my direction, we are drastically reducing the ridiculous amount of mandatory training that individuals and units must execute.
Reducing training? Maybe I misunderstand this part.
We've already ended the most egregious. Now we're giving you back real time. Less
Wait, guys, can somebody explain? I think I misheard some parts. They're reducing training? Isn't that the opposite of what he suggested that they're going to be doing
PowerPoint
so far?
briefings and fewer online courses, more time in the motor pool, and more time on the
Oh.
range. Briefings and fewer online courses, more time.
Oh, okay. Online courses. Online courses. Okay.
Now
fine.
we're giving you back real time. Less PowerPoint briefings and fewer online courses, more time in the
Oh.
motor pool, and more time on the range.
Oh, okay. Okay. So he's replacing some useless training with some good training.
Our job is to make sure you have the money, equipment, weapons, and parts to train and maintain, and then you take it from there. You all know this because it's common sense. The tougher and the higher the standards in our units, the higher the retention rates in those units. Warriors want to be challenged. Troops want to be tested. When you don't train and you don't maintain, you demoralize. And that's when our best people decide to take their talents to the civilian world. The leaders who created the woke department have already driven out too many hard chargers. We reverse that trend right now. There is no world in which high-intensity war exists without pain, agony, and human tragedy. We are in a dangerous line of work. You are in a dangerous line of work. We may lose good people. But let no warrior cry out from the grave, if only I had been properly trained.
Oof.
We will not lose warfighters because we failed to train or equip them or resource them. Shame on us if we do. Train like your warriors' lives depend on it, because they do. To that point, basic training is being restored to what it should be: scary, tough, and disciplined. We're empowering drill sergeants to instill healthy fear in new recruits, ensuring that future warfighters are forged. Yes, they can shark attack, they can toss bunks, they can swear, and yes, they can put their hands on recruits. This does not mean they can be reckless or violate the law, but they can use tried and true methods to motivate new recruits, to make them the warriors they need to be. Back to basics at basic as well. Of course, and you know this, basic training is not where mission readiness should end. The nature of the evolving threat environment demands that everyone in every job must be ready to join the fight if needed. A core credo of the Marine Corps is every Marine a rifleman. It means that everyone, regardless of MOS, is proficient enough to engage an enemy threat at sea, in the air, or in a so-called rear area. We need to ensure that every member of our uniformed military maintains baseline proficiency in basic combat skills, especially because the next war, like the last, will likely not have a rear area.
What?
Finally, as President Trump rightly pointed out when he changed the department name, the United States has not won a major theater war since the name was changed to the Department of Defense in 1947. One conflict stands out in stark contrast.
Which one? Wait, which one? Guess. Guys, guess. I haven't seen this. If you've seen this, don't. Is he talking about Fardo bombing? He's going to talk about one thing, something that Trump was involved with. Which conflict is he talking about? Is he talking about bombing Fardo? China? No, there is no conflict with China. Israel, Palestine? No, because the US it needs to be US involvement. Iraq? No, because he's talking about it positively. No, he's talking, when was it that they changed the name? Oh, Iraq, 1990 to 1991. Okay. Was at that point it was called the Department of Defense or the Department of War? Wait, when did they change the name? When was the Department of Defense? No, when was the Department of War changed to Department of Defense? Short answer. Yeah, I think maybe he's going to talk about bombing for dough. Let's see what year. What year? Come on, instant answer. ChatGPT's. The U.S. Department of War was renamed to Department in 1947. Okay, so yeah, you're right. If it's that old, then the first time the United States attacked Saddam under George Bush Sr. Then that was very successful. That was one of the most successful military operations by United States since World War II. So probably that one. Let's see if he says that.
The Gulf War.
Yes.
Why? Well, there's a number of reasons, but it was a limited mission with overwhelming force and a clear end state.
Yeah, the goal was defined, and also because so many countries participated.
But why did we execute and win the Gulf War the way we did in 1991?
You know, somebody saying that wasn't 47. Yeah, it needs to be after 47. So he said we're talking about after they changed it to the Department of Defense. So it needs to be any war that was after 47, which this one meets that criteria.
End state. But why did we execute and win the Gulf War the way we did in 1991?
Well, because the goal was defined, the mission, because you went in, you finished the job, and you came out. You didn't stay. You didn't stay there to do nation building, and because so many countries were on your side, the whole world was on your side.
There's two overwhelming reasons. One was President Ronald Reagan's military buildup gave an overwhelming advantage. And two, military and Pentagon leadership.
Oh, wait, he's talking about the other one. Okay, never mind. The Gulf War. So I thought he was talking about the Bush Senior's war attack on Saddam. So I misunderstood that.
Gave an overwhelming advantage. And two, military and Pentagon leadership had previous formative battlefield experiences. The men who led this department during the Gulf War were mostly...
Yeah, no, no. I was right. The Gulf War is was the U.S.-led coalition of 35. No, I was correct. 35 nations authorized by the UN expelled Saddam Hussein's Iraqi forces from Kuwait. No, so I was right. So why is he talking about Reagan?
The men who led this department during the Gulf War were mostly combat veterans of the Vietnam War. They said never again to mission creep or nebulous end states. The same holds true today. Our civilian and military leadership is chock full of veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan.
So those are not the actual reasons. The reasons were the ones that I told you, is because it was basically the whole world was basically the United States led the whole world to get Saddam out of Kuwait, and also the mission was very clear.
Who say never again to nation building and nebulous end states. This clear-eyed view, all the way in the White House, combined with President...
By the way, nation building is not always a bad thing. Just because Bush Jr. failed to do nation building in Iraq and also we failed in Afghanistan, United States did very well when it came to nation building in Japan and Germany. Do you guys agree with that? United States was very effective at nation building after World War II in Japan and Germany.
This clear-eyed view, all the way in the White House, combined with President Trump's military buildup, postures us for future victories if, and we will, and when we embrace the War Department. And we must. We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader. And it's all my E6 squad leaders ever wanted, back to that E6 rule. We let our leaders fight their formations, and then we have their back. It's very simple, yet incredibly powerful. A few months ago, I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living. You are not politically correct and don't necessarily belong always in polite society. We are not an army of one. We are a joint force of millions of selfless Americans. We are warriors. We are purpose-built, not for fair weather, blue skies, or calm seas. We were built to load up in the back of helicopters, 5 tons, or Zodiacs in the dead of night, in fair weather or foul, to go to dangerous places, to find those who would do our nation harm, and deliver justice on behalf of the American people in close and brutal combat if necessary. You are different. We fight not because we...
Well, when are you going to do that to the Islamic Republic in Iran? Because we're waiting on that.
Are different.
Because they're your enemy. You guys are like, oh, we're going to go find our enemies and defeat them and destroy them. Okay. Well, the Islamic Republic has promised the annihilation of the United States for the past 47 years. So are you going to do anything about that?
We fight not because we hate what's in front of us. We fight because we love what's behind us. You see, the Ivy League faculty lounges will never understand us, and that's okay. Because they could never do what you do.
Okay, you made that point. You're repeating yourself a lot now. Who wrote this? Okay, so Pete Hegseth, some parts of this speech was really good, but next time, give your speech to ChatGPT and give it this prompt. Say, remove the parts that are fluff or repetitive. If I made a point once, remove the second, third, or fourth time I'm making the same point. Okay? So next time, give it to ChatGPT and give it this prompt, and it will just remove the fluff out, and it will give you a more concise speech.
Because they could never do what you do. The media will mischaracterize us, and that's okay. Because deep down, they know the reason they can do what they do is you. In this profession, you feel comfortable inside the violence so that our citizens can live peacefully.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the generals know that their job is to commit violence against the enemies of the United States so that the citizens of the United States could live peacefully. I'm pretty sure they have heard that a gazillion times throughout their life.
Lethality is our calling card, and victory our only acceptable end state. In closing, a few weeks ago, at our monthly Pentagon Christian prayer service, I recited a commander's prayer. It's a simple yet meaningful prayer for wisdom.
Carl is saying, yeah, he needs my consulting sessions. Exactly. Hey, Pete, my email is armin.navobi@gmail.com. You could hire me to use AI. Oh, by the way, you need AI for the military, so hire me. I'll let you know how to use it for your getting more efficient in the Pentagon.
A few weeks ago, at our monthly Pentagon Christian prayer service, I recited a commander's prayer. It's a simple yet meaningful prayer for wisdom for commanders and leaders. I encourage
What about, do you have atheist commanders in the US military?
It's a simple yet meaningful prayer for wisdom for commanders and leaders. I encourage you to look it up if you've never seen it. But the prayer, it ends like this. And most of all, Lord, please keep my soldiers safe. Lead them, guide them, protect
That's your job, not the Lord's job.
my soldiers safe. Lead them, guide them, protect them, watch over them. And as you gave all of yourself for me, help me give all of myself for them.
That sounds like, what is it called? Deus ex machina? Is that what it's called? Divine intervention in the military, in the battlefield. Is that what it's called? Oh yeah, it's called Deus ex machina. So we could have Jesus fighting Allah in the military zone. In the
Amen.
military.
I have prayed this prayer many times since I've had the privilege of being your secretary. And I will continue to pray.
Yeah, by the way, you praying, this is again, guys, does this not violate secular laws? Does this not violate secularism from a position of the government? You're talking about praying to the generals? I don't know. Is this a violation of secularism or not?
Prayer many times since
Oh, look at there's a female general. Look at that. You see her?
I've had the privilege of being your secretary. And I will continue to pray this prayer for each of you as you command and lead our nation's finest. Go forth and do good things, hard things. President
Do good things. Go forth and do good things. Good things. Okay. This is, don't do bad. Like, how you followed that up with saying, by the way, don't do bad things. Everybody do good things and avoid doing bad things.
and do good things, hard things.
Hard things.
President Trump has your back, and so do I. And you'll hear from him shortly. Move out and draw fire, because we are the War Department.
Okay,
Got
this
it.
is longer than it needs to be. That was way longer than it needed to be. The ending was unnecessary. Do you guys agree? It became much longer than it needed. I don't know. Be good, guys. Don't do bad things. Fight. Military involves using violence to deter our enemies, to hurt our civilians. I didn't know that until today. Well, yeah, and you guys think at zero applause? Well, actually, this is the type of. I mean, Trump speaks after, and he talks about how quiet they are. Apparently, this is what they're supposed to do. There's no applause because this is you got Trump comes and speaks after. I saw a clip about it on Twitter where he comments on how quiet the room is. Apparently, for among military, generals, they're not supposed to applaud. They're not supposed to make any sound. Yeah, they aren't supposed to applaud. Yes, it's a regular decorum not to applaud. How many of them do you think they were annoyed that they were here? They were like, man, I flew all the way here for this. I was in the middle of something very important. I don't know. I don't know if they were annoyed or not. Again, I this could be good though. I mean, the speech was much longer than it needed to be. I do welcome the removal of DEI from the military. And honestly, the DEI needs to be removed from everywhere. I think DEI should be, guys. Do you think I'm extreme? I'm going to say something that made me sound a little extreme. I think DEI should be illegal because it's discrimination, like it's racist. So not only it should be out of the government, I think the government should actually go and basically find it in the private sector and punish the people who are applying it within the private sector as well. Somebody saying Pete is DEI for fuck's sakes. How is he DEI? Nobody saying totally agree. Yeah. So for example, if you say at any business in the United States that we're not hiring you because you're black, that's illegal in the United States. Okay. So given that that's already illegal, if you say in a private business that we are hiring you because you are black, that that means that somebody didn't get the job because they're not black. So in effect, they have told indirectly to somebody else that you didn't get a job because you're white or because you're, I don't know, anything but black. So it should be as illegal as telling somebody that you're hired because you're black should be as illegal as telling somebody you're not hired because you're black, unless you're a model, for example, that requires a certain skin color, or you require a gender, or like for example, it's for theater and this role is for a woman, or this role is for a white person, or this you need this skin color because of this jewelry matches that skin color, or this clothes, or I don't know, special situation that makes sense to discriminate based on gender or skin color. Those are rare situations that obviously make sense. Okay. Right. um like this is women's clothing, so we're hiring women. Obviously we have to hire women for modeling women's clothing, right? Obviously, right? But other than those rare situations, if it's illegal to say that we're not hiring you because you're black, it should be also illegal to say we're hiring you because you're black. So, for example, even in the military, we could be like, we're hiring you because you're a woman, because we need a female spy for this very specific situation. I don't know. There could be some very unique situations where this makes absolute sense, right? Right. Right. I don't know. I'm sure if we think hard enough, we could find some very unique examples where this will make sense. But other than that, it should be illegal. Mm. Okay. So G is saying Pete Hegseth is the definition of DEI. He doesn't have the qualification for his job. Okay, so G, I don't think you understand what DEI is. DEI doesn't mean that somebody who's not qualified gets a job. DEI means somebody who is not qualified gets the job because they're a member of a racial group or a specific gender or some of these other identities. So that's not what that's not what DEI means. What you said doesn't, like, was he hired because he was a member of an ethnic group or a gender? Like, did he make were they trying to meet a quota? That's not DEI. I see Mithra is as butthurt as usual here. So G is saying he got the job because he's a member of MAGA. Well, MAGA is not an ethnic group or a gender. It's not a sex. MAGA is not a sexual orientation or a gender or an ethnic group. So, or a religion. I mean, some people might say it's a religion. I don't know, but it's not. Jenny saying DEI in practice is almost always racial quotas. Usually it's racial quotas, but sometimes it's something else. Like sometimes it's something else. I've already looked it up. I know what it is. Yeah, Nailbin is saying so he agrees with the president, so he was hired. That's normal. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to hire people that have that have visions that is in line with you. Yeah, you're right, Nailbin. That makes sense. I mean, even if we don't like it, for a president to hire somebody that has a philosophy that is in line with his, that makes sense. By the way, guys, did you know that? Am I right? Pete Hegseth has a, I think it's him. He has a tattoo saying here, saying kafir, which is in Arabic. Pete Hegseth has an Arabic tattoo. Did you guys know that? Let me see. Let me see if I could find it. Yes, I found it. If we could, yes, here. Look at this. Did you guys have this? He has an Arabic tattoo, which is kafir, which is infidel in Islam. Oh, geez, what does that mean? Kafir means infidel. Because so he, as a Christian, he would be considered an infidel in Islam. So he has marked himself as an infidel in Arabic. Oh, Jack, well, email that to me. I don't know what that is. Email that to me. Yeah, kafir just basically means non-Muslim, because anybody who doesn't believe in Islam will be considered an unbeliever. Oh, basically means unbeliever. Yeah, yeah. I like this tattoo. It's pretty cool. So, people call it Islamophobic. So okay, so even if you don't agree with him, you're like, it's bizarre that so many people call this Islamophobic, because this is demonstrating the kafirophobia of Islam. This is not Islamophobic. This is referring to unbelieverphobia. I just made up a word. Or kafirophobia of Islam. I mean, the fact that this makes a lot of Muslims offended shows that Muslims are kafirophobic. No, email it to me. I'm not going to click on that right now, Jack. Obviously, I'm not going to click on that link while I'm in the middle of the stream. Yeah, some people are saying he has some Crusader tattoos as well. Like he, hold on. Let me see. So he's saying Pete Hegseth sparks outrage with wild new Arabic tattoo. It says kafir here. I don't know why this is outrageous. It should make you outrageous that Islam is anti that. And then he has some other tattoos. Oh, there. So I don't know what this is. Bunch of crosses. And then he has this tattoo. What does this mean? I don't know what this is. I could look it up. Anyways. Something in Latin. Yeah. Anyways, we don't have to deal with that. So that was that, guys. Oh, Deus Vult means God wills it. Oh. Deus Vult. God's willed it. Some kind of a cross in his chest. Yeah, I saw that. He has some cross. He has a big cross here. 5 crosses on his chest. Anyways. He has a lot of tattoos all over his body. He has guns, American flag, crosses, a lot of stuff. I'm in favor of his kafir tattoo. That's the one that I like. Obviously, as an ex-Muslim, that's the only one I like. As an ex-Muslim atheist, I like the kafir tattoo. It was weird that a lot of people, when they found out, considered it to be Islamophobic. Anyways, I'm gonna head out. I hung out with you guys a little bit more after the video was over. What does those what does it mean? It means God wills it. People are saying that. Yeah, it's basically some crusader warrior stuff on his. Yeah, G is saying I don't know why people are bothered because he is putting that as a way to show that Islam considers him to be an unbeliever and he's wearing it with pride. So Islam considers him to be an infidel, so he's marking himself with that. So some people will consider that to be anti-Islamic and therefore Islamophobic. But by demonstrating their outrage, they bring the attention to the fact that Islam considers anybody that doesn't believe in Islam to be a dirty kafir that is worthy of death or basic or eternal torture, actually, because you might be Ahlul Kitab. Yeah, so Neo is saying you have to give him that. It's a first and really cool kafir tattoo. Yep, I like the tattoo. I appreciate it. I really admire that tattoo. All right, guys. I'm going to head out. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. Let me know if you like the new format. By the way, Jack, I listened to you. Last time you said the text above was too big. I made the text above us smaller. I made this area bigger. You can see at the very bottom, I put the text says follow for more. Maybe encourages some newcomers to subscribe when they see it. And this text, so this text at the top, so when you do vertical streams, that means that when people are just scrolling by, all of a sudden when they see your live, they don't have to wait too long for them to understand what this show is about. As soon as they see this, they were like, "Oh, okay." So they could quickly decide whether they want to stay or not based on this text, right? So when you do vertical live streams, you show up in the middle of people watching YouTube Shorts. So all of a sudden, they're watching YouTube Shorts. They see your live. Quickly, they could decide whether this topic is something that they're interested or not because I have it up here, right? And also because when you do vertical live streams, a lot of people that show up are people who are not subscribed to you. So that text at the very bottom is encouraging them to subscribe. And the reason why I say follow instead of subscribe is because these videos will go on X and Instagram and other places as well. So instead of saying subscribe, I have to say follow. So it works on other platforms as well. So this is the strategy. This is why you could see all of this format here. Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, I'm going to head out and thank you for being here. I'll see you guys again, probably same time tomorrow. All right. And it was fun hanging out with you guys. Talk to you guys soon. Okay. Bye. Oh, wait. I'm Israel Chai. Javid Shah. Bye, guys.